The alarm rings at 5 a.m. Your body aches, your mind rebels. Every fiber of your being screams for just 5 more minutes under those warm, cozy blankets. But here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to hear. Those 5 minutes could be costing you your dreams. You see, I've spent decades studying the difference between success and mediocrity. And you know what I've discovered? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even intelligence. The real difference, the thing that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary, is what you do in those moments when you don't feel like doing anything at all. Let me ask you something. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow? How many dreams have you postponed because you weren't in the mood? How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because you were waiting for the right time? The room falls silent because we all know these questions cut deep. They expose the comfortable lies we tell ourselves. But here's what fascinates me. We never question our mood when it comes to survival. When you're hungry, you eat. When you need money for rent, you work. When your child needs you, you show up, no matter how you feel. So why do we treat our dreams differently? Why do we let our momentary feelings dictate the trajectory of our entire lives? I remember meeting a young entrepreneur. His business was failing, and he came to me seeking advice. He told me about his grand visions, his innovative ideas, his potential contracts. But when I asked him about his daily routine, he admitted he only worked when inspiration struck. He was waiting for motivation to magically appear and transform his life. I sold him something that changed his life forever. Success is not about motivation. It's about discipline. Motivation is like a fair weather friend. It's there when the sun is shining, but disappears at the first sign of storm. Discipline is the silent warrior that shows up every single day, rain or shine. You see, most people have it backwards. They think action follows motivation. They believe they need to feel good to start working. But here's the revolutionary truth. Action creates motivation. Motion creates emotion. The very act of doing something generates the energy to keep doing it. Think about the last time you procrastinated on a task. Remember how it loomed over you like a dark cloud? Remember how your mind magnified its difficulty? But when you finally started, what happened? Suddenly it wasn't so terrible. The momentum kicked in, the energy followed, the cloud lifted. This isn't just philosophy, it's biology. Your brain is wired to conserve energy. It's programmed to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. This made perfect sense when we were hunting for food and running from predators. But in today's world, this ancient programming is sabotaging your success. Every time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're rewiring your brain. You're building new neural pathways. You're developing what I call success muscles. And just like physical muscles, these mental muscles grow stronger with each rep, with each moment of discomfort you push through. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. If it were, everyone would be living their dreams. The path of least resistance is always available, always tempting. That's why mediocrity is so common. Excellence is rare because it demands something most people aren't willing to give. Consistent action regardless of feelings. I've seen people transform their lives using this simple but powerful principle. A single mother who wrote her book by waking up 2 hours early every day, even though she was exhausted. A middle-aged man who built a successful business by making 50 cold calls daily, even though he hated every minute of it. A college student who lost 100 pounds by hitting the gym at 5 a.m., even though his bed begged him to stay. These people weren't special. They weren't blessed with extraordinary willpower or superhuman motivation. They simply understood one crucial truth. Feelings are fickle, but actions are absolute. They learned to treat their important tasks like breathing, non-negotiable regardless of mood. Here's a secret that successful people know. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It's a pain management problem. We don't avoid tasks because we're lazy. We avoid them because we're trying to avoid discomfort. But what if I told you that this discomfort is actually a compass? What if the very thing you're avoiding is exactly what you should be doing? The tasks that make you uncomfortable are usually the ones that matter most. They're the ones that lead to growth, to breakthrough, to transformation. The presentation you're nervous about could lead to a promotion. The conversation you're avoiding could save a relationship. The workout you're dreading could add years to you. When you understand this, everything changes. Suddenly, discomfort becomes a signal, not a stop sign. It becomes an indicator of importance, not impossibility. The resistance you feel becomes a reliable guide pointing toward your next breakthrough. But knowledge isn't enough. Understanding these principles intellectually won't change your life. You need to embody them. You need to live them. You need to practice them, especially when you don't feel like it. So here's what I want you to do. Tomorrow morning, when that alarm rings, don't negotiate with yourself. Don't wait for motivation. Don't check your phone. Don't hit snooze. Just get up and start moving. Take that first step, however small it might be. Remember, you don't have to feel like doing something to do it. You don't have to be motivated to take action. You don't have to be inspired to start working. All you need is the decision, the unwavering commitment to show up, regardless of how you feel. This is where most motivational advice falls short. They tell you to get excited, to pump yourself up, to find your passion. But passion without discipline is like a car without gas. It might look good, but it won't take you anywhere. The truth is, there will be days when you don't feel passionate. There will be moments when your motivation tanks. There will be times when your enthusiasm disappears. And these are exactly the moments that define your destiny. These are the crossroads where champions are made. You know what's fascinating about human nature? Our ability to rationalize, our talent for creating elaborate excuses, our genius for justifying inaction. We're masters at it. We've elevated procrastination to an art form. And the more intelligent you are, the better you become at convincing yourself why now isn't the right time. But here's the thing about time. It doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't wait for your mood to improve. It doesn't pause while you gather your courage. Time moves forward relentlessly, taking your dreams with it unless you decide to move with it. Let me share something powerful with you. Every morning you wake up with 86,400 seconds. That's your daily deposit in the bank of time. But unlike money, you can't save it. You can't get a refund. You can't borrow more. Once it's gone forever. And here's the kicker. The bank deletes whatever portion you failed to invest at the end of each day. Now imagine if you had an actual bank that deposited $86,400 in your account every morning. Would you let that money go to waste? Would you wait until you felt like spending it? Would you let others decide how to use it? Of course not. You'd carefully plan every dollar, maximizing its value, investing it wisely. Yet when it comes to our time, we're surprisingly careless. We wait for the perfect moment. We wait for inspiration. We wait for permission. We wait and wait and wait while our account drains away, second by second, day by day, year by year. The cost of waiting for motivation is astronomical. It's not just about the time you waste today. It's about the compound interest you're losing on that time. Every hour you spend procrastinating isn't just an hour lost. It's the countless hours of potential growth, learning, and achievement that hour could have generated. Think about it this way. When you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just completing a task. You're not just checking something off your to-do list. You're making a deposit in your future. You're investing in your potential. You're building compound interest on your actions. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you're not just winning today's battle. You're winning tomorrow's war. You're creating momentum that carries forward. You're building habits that compound over time. You're developing strength that will serve you in countless future challenges. But here's where it gets really interesting. The resistance you feel, that voice in your head telling you to wait, to postpone, to delay, it's actually a gift. Yes, you heard me right. That resistance is a gift. It's your personal growth meter. The stronger the resistance, the more important the task usually is for your growth. Have you noticed how you never feel resistance toward watching TV, or scrolling through social media, or engaging in mindless entertainment? That's because these activities don't challenge you. They don't push you to grow. They don't demand anything from you. The resistance you feel toward important work is like the resistance weights provide in the gym. Without that resistance, there's no growth. Without that tension, there's no transformation. The very thing that makes it hard is what makes it valuable. This understanding changes everything. When you start seeing resistance as a compass rather than a barrier, procrastination loses its power over you. The very presence of that uncomfortable feeling becomes a signal that you're on the right track, that you're pushing against the boundaries of your comfort zone, that you're growing. But let's get practical. How do you actually force yourself to work when every fiber of your being is resisting? Here's where most people go wrong. They try to tackle their biggest challenges head on when their motivation is lowest. That's like trying to lift your heaviest weight when your muscles are coldest. It's a recipe for failure. Instead, start small, ridiculously small. So small that your brain can't even argue against it, can't face writing that report. Commit to writing one sentence, can't motivate yourself to exercise. Promise to do just one push-up. Can't start that difficult project? Pledge to work on it for just 5 minutes. This isn't about the actual work you accomplish in those tiny commitments. It's about breaking through the initial resistance. It's about creating momentum. Because once you start, something magical happens. The resistance begins to melt away. The task that seemed impossible becomes manageable. The mountain that looked insurmountable becomes a series of small hills. This is where discipline becomes a form of self-respect. When you force yourself to work despite not feeling like it, you're sending a powerful message to yourself. You're saying that your dreams are more important than your momentary feelings. You're declaring that your goals matter more than your comfort. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted with your own aspirations. Think about the implications of this. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your self-trust. Every time you give in to resistance, you reinforce the habit of surrender. But every time you push through, every time you show up despite not feeling like it, you strengthen your character. You build what I call your reliability muscle. This reliability muscle is perhaps the most valuable asset you can develop, because success in any field ultimately comes down to reliability. Can you be counted on to deliver regardless of how you feel? Can you be trusted to show up even when motivation is low? Can you be depended upon to follow through despite the obstacles? The world is full of talented but unreliable people. People who could achieve greatness if only they worked consistently. People who have amazing ideas but never follow through. People who start strong but fizzle out when the initial excitement wears off. That's the truth that transforms lives. Consistency trumps talent. Reliability beats natural ability. Showing up every day outperforms sporadic brilliance. The person who works with discipline when they don't feel like it will always outperform the person who only works when inspired. The most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves. And one of the most insidious lies is this: I need to feel ready. Let me tell you something that might shake you to your core. Nobody ever feels completely ready. Nobody ever feels perfectly prepared. The people you admire, the ones who've achieved remarkable things, they weren't ready either. They just started anyway. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that confidence comes before action, that we need to feel certain before we begin, that we must eliminate all doubt before we take the first step. But this is backward thinking. Confidence isn't the prerequisite for action, it's the result of action. Certainty doesn't come before the journey, it comes from the journey. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. No amount of theoretical knowledge can give you the confidence to ride. You can study physics, watch videos, read manuals. But true confidence only comes after you get on that bike and start pedaling. You build confidence through action, through falling, through getting back up, through persisting despite the scraped knees and bruised ego. The same principle applies to every area of life. You don't become confident in public speaking by waiting to feel ready. You become confident by speaking publicly, repeatedly, even when your voice shakes. You don't become confident in business by waiting for the perfect moment. You become confident by taking action, making mistakes, learning, adjusting, and continuing despite the setbacks. This brings us to a crucial understanding about force and discipline. When you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just completing tasks. You're building trust with yourself. Every time you honor your commitments, despite your feelings, you're strengthening what I call your personal integrity account. Think of personal integrity like a bank account. Every time you do what you said you would do, you make a deposit. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you make a withdrawal. The balance in this account determines your self-trust, your self-respect, and ultimately your self-confidence. Most people focus on their reputation, what others think of them. But your reputation is merely a shadow of your character. And your character is built in those private moments when no one is watching. It's built in those early morning hours when you force yourself out of bed. It's built in those evening hours when you complete one more task despite exhaustion. It's built in those moments when you say no to distraction and yes to discipline. Here's something that might surprise you. The most successful people don't rely on motivation. They've learned to divorce their actions from their emotions. They've developed systems and habits that run on autopilot regardless of how they feel. They understand that motivation is like weather. It changes constantly. But systems, habits, and discipline, these are like climate, stable, reliable, predictable. Let me share a powerful secret with you. The moment you stop asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? And start asking, is this what I committed to doing? Everything changes. The first question leads to negotiation with yourself. The second question leads to action. The first question empowers your emotions. The second question, consider them. Every time you hit the snooze button, every time you postpone an important task, every time you give in to distraction, you're not just avoiding discomfort. You're voting for the person you'll become. Your future self is the result of the votes you cast today. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Your brain has a remarkable ability to rationalize whatever decision you make. If you consistently choose comfort over growth, your brain will create elaborate justifications for why that's the right choice. But if you consistently choose discipline over comfort, your brain will begin to associate discipline with success, progress, and satisfaction. This is why forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it is so transformative. It's not just about the work itself, it's about who you become in the process. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways. You're literally rebuilding yourself from the... But let's address the elephant in the room. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. These fears often masquerade as not feeling like it. When we say we don't feel like doing something, what we often mean is we're afraid of doing it imperfectly. It is a liberating truth. Perfection is the enemy of progress. The need to do something perfectly often prevents us from doing it at all. But what if, instead of aiming for perfection, you aim for progress? What if, instead of waiting to feel completely ready, you decided to be ready enough? The most successful people in any field aren't necessarily the most talented or the most intelligent. They're the ones who were willing to start before they felt ready. They're the ones who were willing to be bad at something temporarily so they could become good at it permanently. They're the ones who understood that imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. Think about this. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. Every success story started with someone who didn't feel ready but started anyway. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is largely determined by your willingness to act despite not feeling like it. This brings us to another crucial aspect of forcing yourself to work, the compound effect of small actions. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a day and underestimate what they can achieve in a year. They look for dramatic transformations instead of consistent progress. They want quantum leaps instead of steady steps. But life-changing transformations rarely happen in a single moment. They happen through the accumulation of seemingly insignificant choices. Each time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just accomplishing a task. You're building momentum. You're creating a force that makes the next right choice easier, and the next one easier still. Think of it like a spacecraft breaking free from Earth's gravity. The hardest part is the initial launch. It requires enormous energy to break free from gravitational pull. But once you're in orbit, maintaining momentum becomes much easier. The same principle applies to personal discipline. The hardest part is breaking free from the gravitational pull of your comfort zone. But once you build momentum, maintaining discipline becomes increasingly natural. Let's talk about something that few people understand about success. Everyone wants transformation, but nobody wants to deal with the discomfort of change. Everyone wants the result, but few are willing to embrace the process. Everyone wants the destination, but few are willing to endure the journey. But here's what separates the exceptional from the average. The exceptional have learned to fall in love with the process. They've learned to embrace the daily grind. They've learned to find beauty in the mundane moments of discipline that others avoid. You see, forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it isn't just about willpower. It's about wisdom. It's about understanding that your feelings are terrible indicators of what's important. They're unreliable guides for what needs to be done. Your feelings will tell you to stay in bed when opportunity is knocking. They'll tell you to quit when breakthrough is just around the corner. They'll tell you to give up when victory is within reach. This is why successful people have learned to let their goals, not their feelings, drive their actions. They understand that feelings are like clouds in the sky, constantly changing, sometimes dark and heavy, other times light and peaceful. But their commitment, their discipline, their dedication, these are like the sun above those clouds, constant and unwavering. Let me share something profound with you. Every time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just completing a task, you're making a declaration. You're declaring that you are not a slave to your emotions. You're announcing that you are the master of your actions. You're proving that your commitment is stronger than your... Think about the last time you pushed through resistance and did what needed to be done. Remember how you felt afterward? That sense of accomplishment, that quiet pride, that inner strength, these are the real rewards of discipline. The task completion is just a bonus. The real victory is in proving to yourself that you can be trusted with your own dreams. But here's where most people get stuck. They wait for the big moments, the dramatic opportunities, the perfect circumstances to prove their worth. They don't realize that greatness is built in the small moments of choice that nobody sees. It's built in the early morning decisions before the world wakes up. It's built in the late night commitments when everyone else has gone home. It's built in those moments when every fiber of your being is screaming for comfort, but you choose growth instead. You want to know something fascinating about human potential? Your capacity for growth is directly proportional to your capacity to handle discomfort. The more comfortable you become with being uncomfortable, the more you'll grow. The more willing you are to do what others won't, the more you'll achieve what others can't. This is why forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it is such a powerful catalyst for personal growth. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you're expanding your comfort zone. You're pushing the boundaries of what you believe is possible. You're redefining your limits. But let's be real, this isn't easy. If it were, everyone would be living their dreams. The path of least resistance is always available, always tempting, always calling. That's why mediocrity is so common. That's why average is so prevalent. That's why ordinary is the default setting. Here's what most people don't understand about extraordinary achievement. It's not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. It's about doing the right thing even when the right thing isn't the easy. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like showing up. Thinking about this. Every significant achievement in human history was built on thousands of moments when someone chose discipline over comfort. Every great invention, every remarkable discovery, every amazing performance, They all required someone to keep working when they didn't feel like it. The world belongs to those who show up, not just once, not just when they feel like it, not just when it's convenient, but consistently, persistently, relentlessly. The world belongs to those who understand that greatness is not about intensity, it's about consistency. Not about perfection, but persistence. Not about doing extraordinary things, but about doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Here's a truth that might shake. Your future self is watching you right now. Every decision you make today is creating the person you'll be tomorrow. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're voting for mediocrity. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're voting for excellence. But there's something even more powerful at play here. When you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just impacting your own life. You're setting an example, you're showing others what's possible. You're demonstrating that circumstances don't determine outcomes. Decisions do. Think about the ripple effect of your discipline. When you choose to work despite not feeling like it, you inspire others to do the same. When you push through resistance, you show others it's possible. When you choose growth over comfort, you give others permission to do the same. This is why discipline is so much more than just getting things done. It's about becoming the kind of person who can be counted on. It's about developing the kind of character that inspires others. It's about building the kind of legacy that outlives you. Let me share something powerful with you. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is bridged by your daily decisions, not by your intentions, not by your goals, not by your dreams, by those moments when you choose discipline over comfort, when you choose growth over ease, when you choose to work when you don't feel like it. Every time you make this choice, you're not just changing your actions, you're changing your identity. You're not just doing different things. You're becoming a different person. You're not just creating results. You're creating character. This is the hidden power of forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it. It's not just about productivity. It's not just about achievement. It's about transformation. It's about becoming the kind of person who can achieve their dreams. The kind of person who can be trusted with great responsibilities. The kind of person who can handle success when it comes. We've come to a moment of truth, right here, right now. Because everything we've discussed, every principle, every insight, every truth means nothing without action. Knowledge without action is like having a map but never taking the journey. It's like having a seed but never planting it. It's like having wings but never choosing to fly. Well, the question isn't whether you understand these principles. The question is, what will you do with them? How will you apply them? How will you transform them from concepts into reality? You see, we're living in extraordinary times. Times of unprecedented opportunity, but also unprecedented distraction. Times of infinite possibility, but also infinite ways to waste that possibility. Never before in human history has it been easier to access information, yet never has it been harder to maintain focus. Never has it been easier to connect with opportunities, yet never has it been harder to commit to meaningful action. This is why the ability to force yourself to work when you don't feel like it is more valuable now than ever before. In a world of increasing distraction, discipline is the ultimate competitive advantage. In a world of declining attention spans, the ability to focus and follow through is becoming a superpower. But let me tell you something that might change your perspective forever. The resistance you feel toward important work, that heaviness, that reluctance, that desire to postpone, it's not your enemy, it's your ally. It's not a wall, it's a doorway. It's not a stop sign, it's a signal pointing toward your next level of growth. Think about this. Everything you want lies on the other side of that resistance. Every dream, every goal, every aspiration, they all wait for you beyond that threshold of discomfort. The question is, will you cross it? Will you push through? Will you do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel? The world doesn't reward people for what they know. It rewards them for what they do. It doesn't reward people for their intentions. It rewards them for their actions. It doesn't reward people for their potential. It rewards them for their performance. You see, potential is equally distributed, But success isn't. Why? Because success doesn't go to those with the most potential. It goes to those who are willing to act on their potential. It goes to those who are willing to work when they don't feel like it. It goes to those who understand that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Here's a truth that might make you uncomfortable. Your life right now is the sum total of your past decisions, your health, your relationships, your career, your finances. They're all the result of choices you've made, actions you've taken, and perhaps more importantly, actions you've avoided. Here's the empowering flip side of that truth. Your future is the sum total of the decisions you'll make from this moment forward, starting now, starting today, starting with your next choice. Every moment is a fresh start. Every decision is a new beginning. Every action is a vote for your future self. The question is, what kind of future are you voting for? What kind of person are you becoming through your choices? Remember, success is never owned. It's rented, and the rent is due every day. You can't live on yesterday's discipline. You can't coast on last week's effort. You can't rely on last month's momentum. Each day demands its own commitment. Each day requires its own discipline. Each day needs its own decision to act despite not feeling like it. But here's the beautiful thing about disciplines. It compounds. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you make the next choice easier. Every time you push through resistance, you strengthen your ability to push through future resistance. Every time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you build the muscle of self-command. Think about who you could become if you mastered this one skill. Think about what you could achieve if you learned to divorce your actions from your emotions. Think about what you could create if you developed the ability to act consistently, regardless of how you feel. The truth is, you already have this ability. You've already proven it countless times in your life. Every time you've gotten up when you were tired, every time you've helped someone when you were busy, every time you've persisted when you wanted to quit, you've demonstrated this power. But whether you have the ability, the question is, will you use it consistently? Will you apply it deliberately? Will you harness it purposefully? Because here's what's at stake. Not just your goals, but your character. Not just your achievements, but your identity. Not just what you'll have, but who you'll be. You see, every time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just changing your circumstances. You're changing your story. You're not just altering your results. You're altering your destiny. You're not just building your success. You're building yourself. And that's what this is really about. Yes, discipline leads to achievement. Yes, consistency leads to success. Yes, persistence leads to results. But more importantly, discipline builds character. Consistency creates integrity. Persistence develops strength. The real reward of forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it isn't just in what you accomplish. It's in who you become. The real victory isn't just in what you achieve. It's in how you achieve it. The real triumph isn't just in reaching your goals. It's in becoming the kind of person who can achieve any goal they set. So here's my challenge to you. Start today. Start now. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is a myth. The right time is now. The right place is here. The right person is you. Take that first step, even if you don't feel ready. Start that project, even if you don't feel confident. Make that call, even if you don't feel certain. Begin that journey, even if you don't feel prepared. Remember, the feeling you're waiting for comes after the action, not before it. The confidence you're seeking comes through the doing, not before it. The certainty you're craving comes from the experience, not before it. Your future self is watching. Your legacy is waiting. Your potential is calling. The only question that remains is, will you answer? Will you again? Because in the end, life's greatest rewards don't go to those who have the most talent, the most resources, or the most opportunities. They go to those who have the most discipline, to those who are willing to work when others, to those who are willing to persist when others quit, to those who are willing to do what needs to be done, regardless of how they feel. The choice is yours. The time is now. The power is within you. Use it. Act on it. Live. Your destiny awaits on the other side of discipline. Your greatness lies beyond your comfort zone. Your legacy begins with your next decision. Choose wisely. Choose now. Choose growth over comfort. Choose discipline over ease. Choose action over excuses. Because in the end, we become what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And that habit starts with your next choice.